Now, let's look at enlightened sexuality. Enlightened sexuality is not addicted to sex because you're in a committed relationship. The interest in just having sex is not there, but the interest is when you get close and he is more masculine and she is more feminine, that will create the spark, even if it's the same partner. And that's what we've neutralized. We've become neutered. We've become decoupled, depolarized in our relationships today. When women go to their male side, they don't have the feminine side to turn a man on. And when a man is too far on his female side, he doesn't have the male side to turn her on.
Together, we go out there, together.
Good to see you back here on The Pulse. I'm Patricia Falco Beccalli, your host, and he is back, Dr. John Gray. I would say the father of the empire, I may call it already empire, of Mars and Venus. John, thank you so much for being with us again.
Well, happy to be with you again.
You are so popular with our viewers. You're popular anyway, but I have a host of questions from people that have seen our conversations. We had already a couple of them about love, relationship, what makes a good relationship, what makes a bad relationship. And of course, a lot of the questions I had, and funnily enough, maybe as of late, because there's an interesting Netflix show on called Ashley Madison about infidelity. There was quite a bit of questions about how do you, how do you handle your sex life when you are in a long-term relationship, for example? How do you keep the spark, the attraction, the playfulness? And how do you deal with your desire maybe to go beyond Mars and Venus, beyond the borders, be with other people, yet still staying in the relationship? What is your take on, let's say, a form of maybe sexuality that is, needs a spark, first of all, within the relationship and then maybe beyond?
Yeah, there's a lot of good questions there. First of all, let's just lay the groundwork. Historically, that wasn't an issue. People knew that the spark went away after the honeymoon. Okay, I mean, it was just naturally, that was the way it was. We were in a different world. We've now shifted into a new world. One way to characterize that world in a more spiritual sense is an elevation of consciousness. And to make that point, if you look at a flight attendant, how many, 50 years ago, well, not 50, yeah, about 50 years ago when I was a teenager, a flight attendant who was 19 years old looked like she was 35. Okay, people, the 60s, the new 30, that kind of a thing. So what's gone on? It's higher consciousness. And what happens with a higher consciousness is greater awareness. And with that greater awareness, you're aware of all aspects of who you are. That's why we have therapy, to become more conscious of our hidden motivations within us. But more importantly, from my work, we become more conscious of both our masculine qualities and our feminine qualities. And, I've written books on the masculine and the feminine. My most recent is Beyond Mars and Venus, because in Men Are From Mars, I talked about pretty common issues between men and women if they're in a somewhat traditional relationship where the man is the provider and the woman is the homemaker. She's got children. She depends on him to provide for her. And in cases where a man was successful in providing for her, relationships worked really well. When men are not paid for what they do, we live in an unjust world, without a doubt. There's corruption all over the place. It's getting better, though. I'm not like a depressed person. It's just only gotten better and better. But in circumstances where a man could earn his living and support his wife, you had a happy family, amazingly positive. And when you didn't, then you had a culture that doesn't support men in providing for their wives is disastrous. Now, again, we have, with this elevated consciousness, we have women able to access their male side. And if they're not allowed to access their male side, they feel constricted. And as a man, as my higher consciousness, in my teenage years, I was in the summer of love, and we all got high, and the music was do what you like and free sex. You didn't have to get married. I remember the first time I had sex as a teenager. I couldn't sleep all night. I went to a friend's house to talk all night. Why is it that a piece of paper that says you're married says sex is okay? This is my limited teenage understanding. And the whole point of the piece of paper is that a man is committed to a woman, they're in love, because sex has consequences. If you have a baby, the man should stay. It's not like some fling. So we've left that behind. And what we don't realize is that love should be the foundation of sex. It always has been, love and commitment. And when you take that out of the equation, suddenly you have hedonism. You have people just unable to, particularly for men. A man needs to feel commitment in his life. Without commitment, he becomes weak. And I can explain that hormonally, biologically. That when a man is reliable, when he will be loved by women as well, but more importantly, he will have dignity in himself, is making commitments and following through and being logical, reasonable. We've lost all that. Ironically, as we've gotten higher, what happened is when you have access as a man to your masculine side or your feminine side, easy access. So as a teenager, I had easy access. I could just take LSD and go to rock concerts and have free sex, which was all very fun. But what happened is it weakened me, and that will weaken any man. You have to have a balance of your feminine side. So I'm defining there me going to my female side. Literally on a superficial level, I grew out my hair. On a superficial level, I wore pretty beads. I wore bell-bottom pants, and I demonstrated against war. Men are the warriors. We go to war. Oh, no war. Okay, all peace. Okay. So breaking those boundaries that limited me as a man to my masculine side, which was important throughout history. Now with this higher consciousness, I could easily access my female side. What was the theme of accessing my female side? Is do what you like. See, this is back when Aleister Crowley, actually, the famous Satanist, the evil dark side of life, all that stuff, his whole theme in every chapter of his books is do what I like. Do what you like. Let thy will be done. Not God's will, not the universe. Do what you like is basically the theme of darkness. And this is what happens to men when they go to their female side, do what you like, without being anchored in their masculine side, which is, yeah, I do what I like on my vacation, when I come home to relax, but I work hard and I do the right thing, and I have integrity and value in myself because I have that commitment. For women, do what you like is their female side. See, the problem for women today, I analyze it. I've been doing it 50 years. I've got women, most of my clients are women. They come in here and they feel like I'm not doing what I like. It's basically, I have to do. I feel overwhelmed. I have to do this. I have to do this. I have to do this. I don't have anybody do it for me. I've got to do it all by myself. And in the beginning, that's fun. Okay. If you're this woman where you live in a culture where you depend on a man for your protection, for your security, for your finances, for help, all that, it takes two people to make a baby. It takes two people to raise a family, and a culture around them that supports those two people without a doubt. So, but I don't like the idea. Just when I say that, I don't like the idea of it takes a village. First of all, it takes a man and a woman supported by the village. It's not a village problem. It's not a village thing. It takes a man and a woman who love each other. That little baby, that little boy, that little girl has got dad and mom inside of him or her. And when mom and dad aren't loving each other, they can love each other distance. Sometimes divorce is inevitable, whatever. But if they can't have positive feelings towards each other, they hold resentments, they hold grudges, they say mean things about each other, they're hurting that child. And that's a commitment you make when you have sex, when you're going to have an outcome. Now, then birth control came along, and that sort of confused the whole issue, but it's good. It's good. So you can plan, but once women could plan, they also could choose. They didn't have a culture supporting them and saying, I want to go slow when it comes to sex. That's a very important thing. A woman could always say, no, I'm not having sex till I get married. Well, now I take a woman out and she says, well, I like to go slow. What's wrong with you? Are you a prude? You don't care? You're not the enlightened one. But what I see over and over and over is happily married women. We're not just out having sex like men want to have. See, somebody has to bring sanity in relationships, and it's women. Women are the gatekeepers. They say, I'm not going to let this person come inside of me, be a big part of my life, unless I feel respected, unless I feel loved. And I'm not going to make sexual experience until I have commitment. Now, why is that? Okay, if we're all just men, it's different. What women know instinctively, if they follow their heart and they feel safe and secure and they had a father figure in their life, there's a place of, I'm not turned on to a man until he knows me and I know him. So you have to have a relationship first in the mind and then in the heart. He treats me with respect. He gives me emotional support. He provides all kinds of support. Then your body starts getting turned on. That's the healthy regimen for women. And if she's turned on to a man and she doesn't even know him, that is a clear sign of what we call in psychology a father issue. Okay, the absent father, always seeking to please the father. So you find yourself sexually attracted to men who are dangerous, men who are not available, men who don't call you back, and then you blame those men. It's just like it's a two-party system here. I also tell men basically, you're losing your soul to have sex without love. You're disconnecting. See, there's a place where we can connect to our higher self, and this is this higher consciousness. Well, you keep lowering your consciousness when you do porn or when you have sex with yourself. These things, and just to make that point, I call this enlightened sexuality, which is the point being, you can measure now biologically what happens when you have sex with yourself or with a stranger or with a computer or with a robot. Or with somebody you love. You have a different biological reaction. This is proven now. The Italian researchers did this, which is when you have sex with someone you love in your committed relationship, marriage, in that unique setting, men, when they have sex, produces a hormone called prolactin. Now, prolactin is known as a female hormone that allows breast milk to drop in, and so mother to feed a baby with her breasts. It's a very feminine hormone. But when a man makes love to his wife, that hormone gets produced more and more over time. Now, over time, and even in the courting process, by the way, that hormone's building up because he's loving. And also he's in his love is your female side, setting desire, setting goals. That's your male side. And we all have it. So, you know, some women go, well, I like to have my goals and stuff. Yeah, you have a male side. We know that. Okay. But this is your biology. This is what is rules your behavior and your mood, and what your preferences are as your hormones. So we can get to that. But here you have this hormone called prolactin that gets produced in men. And what does it do? It frees him from the addiction to having sex. He's not interested in having sex with other women if he's making prolactin. So that's the answer. It's right there in our biology. You know, what do you do when sex becomes boring in a relationship? Because what happens is the newness, the honeymoon period, which can be 3 years, you know, it can be 1 month, it can be all kinds of things depending on someone's maturity. But this newness, like as a teenager, the honeymoon period is often one time. And then you're not interested in the girl at all, you know. So if you have a certain level of maturity, it can last longer. But again, it's the newness that stimulates a brain chemical called dopamine in both men and women. But for men, when the newness is stimulated, his testosterone goes up, masculine hormone. Men need to make 10 times more just to feel happy, 20 times more in order to feel commitment and love for their wives. So you've got on the other side, when dopamine goes up, if a woman feels safe, there's a precursor there. If a woman feels safe, her body makes a hormone called oxytocin. So she feels safe. Then when dopamine is there, her estrogen levels will rise up. And it's estrogen that allows her to be, you know, feel romantic feelings, to feel emotional attachment. And so when a woman has this issue of being turned on to a man who really hasn't made a commitment to her, isn't available to her, very exciting to her, dangerous, exciting, whatever. What happens is when she has sex with him, it's fantasy. And that fantasy, she produces a huge amount of oxytocin, which causes a sort of bond with him, and such that when he doesn't call back, it actually is a tear in her heart. It's a betrayal. It's a feeling of hurt. Now, you can logically say things, but the reality is that's going to happen. So the woman gets hurt and the man forgets her. But what the man doesn't know is he's lost his soul. He's lost his direction. You'll see a lot of really kind of wealthy, handsome, tall men often have a difficult time making a commitment because they had so many available women. And so they would have sex over here and sex over here and sex over here. And they lose touch with the part of them, the soulful part of them that can make a commitment and they want to find love in their lives. They don't even know what they want. They get lost into drug addictions and so forth. And an example of that is anytime a man's on his female side, too many female hormones, he always, let me turn it around. Whenever a man has addiction, he has weak masculine hormones and too many female hormones. So this is, we can now measure this stuff biologically. We can also know that when it comes to prolactin, this is part of enlightened sexuality, not only does, think of men as having, we might use the phrase wanderlust. You know, they're always looking, right? Every woman knows men are always looking. they think we're pigs because we're always looking. But no, we're designed to always look until we find, just like I'm always looking. You know, I have a beautiful home. I was looking at homes for many years, what home I want. And then I got my home. I never look at other homes. And as a matter of fact, I look at other homes that could be bigger or prettier. And I look at that and I go, that's really nice, but I've got my home and I love it. You know, it's just what I want. So there's that stability comes. The wanderlust goes away of a teenager. You know, who's the one? Where am I going to go? And some men are this way to their dying day. They just never matured because they don't have enlightened sexuality. Somebody has to guide them into having intimacy with someone you love. You build a relationship in the mind and in the heart and then in the body. And as I was just mentioning that, the physical attraction, women on average, in a healthy setting, unless a woman's very, very mature, she's not going to feel turned on. She's going to wait for a man to impress her. You know, it's like, I'm waiting for the reaction. And so don't look for that reaction to think that a man is potential. The potential man actually is not going to evoke that reaction down south. It's going to evoke a reaction in your mind, a curiosity, a wanting to get to know somebody. Whereas a man, healthy man, he's going to want to get into her body. That's normal and natural. Our sex center is twice as big. We're designed. The hormone that gets produced when a man is turned on lowers a man's stress. You know, basically, I could be stressed out. And my wife said, let's have sex. Boom, my stress goes away. That's just, our biology is so, so different. And I just want to toss in here an article I just read today, which is a study that you'll never hear on the New York Times or anywhere else, which is Stanford University did a very conclusive AI study of men and women's brains and found that the way we function to cognize, to intellectually understand things, completely different parts of the brain are used in a woman than a man. And there's no overlap. You know, a lot of the studies, you know, there's a book called The Myth of Mars Venus where they, you know, one of my books is on brain differences between men and women where there is some overlap. For example, just like there's overlap when it comes to men are taller and stronger. There's some women who are taller and stronger than me. So there's overlap. But we look at general themes, you see that there's these differences. But particularly when it comes to intellectual cognition and the way you interpret things, there's no overlap at all, and that women do something that no man on the planet does, and men do something that no woman does, which is involved in a very important aspect of brain function. I was always relying on another aspect where there's no overlap, which is, and that's supposed to be the first study, but I talked about long ago. There's something called the right anterior parietal lobe and the left anterior parietal lobe. And every male that's born, his left anterior parietal lobe is bigger than the right. And for a woman, the right is bigger than the left. Now, the overlap happens is that a woman can still use her left anterior parietal lobe. A man can use the right one. But if you just look at size, and size is important, if you look at size, that's how we're born. And the left one has to do with things. And that's the easy way to just understand men. They tend to be more drawn towards things and engines and computers and technology. Does that mean a woman can't do that job? Yes, she can learn to do that job. But over here, we have the right anterior parietal lobe has to do with relationships and people and food and beauty and artistic qualities. So can a man be artistic? Absolutely. But he's still got a bigger left anterior parietal lobe. And you'll see, because it's so easy for that man to go to his female side, I've got books back here, which are the sex lives of famous writers, artists, and politicians, and they're all tormented sex lives, tormented, unfulfilled, and also most of them are drug addicts. Most people don't know that. You know, all your writers are taking drugs. You know, all your entertainers are taking drugs. All those TV shows, the writers are all on cocaine. You know, this is this is drug addicted society. But what it is when men are taking drugs, for example, on their female side, and so they are men, and when they go to their female side for a period of time, they have unlimited creativity. See, that creativity just flows. That's our highest self. And what romantic feelings for a lifetime is when your relationship allows you to be both on your male and female side. See, this is, you bring these two things together. It's the alchemy, it's the spark of enlightenment, unlimited creativity, intelligence, and so forth. And so most people get there by going from one thing to the other. So you get these men, and it's primarily men, who become drug addicts, but on the way over to their female side, and when I say that, people kind of go, even why is drug addict female side? Anytime you're dependent on something outside yourself to make you feel good. Okay, I'm depending on something to make me feel good. That's estrogen gets produced in my body. That's the female hormones get produced. When I'm depending on myself, okay, to feel good. And, you know, if I'm achieving a goal, for example, or a woman's achieving a goal, either one, you're making testosterone, the male hormone. So it's very, very clean cut here. And the overlap in that case is that we have choice, and that you can go over to your male side or your female side, but you don't have choice when it comes to your happiness. If you're not aligned with the ideal balance for you, you will be unhappy, and that's measured by another hormone called cortisol. You will experience chronic stress levels. Now, since the year 2000, as women entered the workforce, on average, and remember when I talk about averages, it's not every woman, it's not every man. For example, on average, every man's testosterone goes down in this country. Mine went up. I'm 50% higher when I was a young man. Okay, so this is, and I know men who have high testosterone and they're in their 80s. Okay, so this is all part of enlightened sexuality. Sex is one of the most important things to keep a man's testosterone up, but not having sex with strangers. Okay, it's when you can love someone and be committed to them, and you can still have sexual attraction. But for most people, that's unavailable. And the reason that's unavailable, and the reason couples are not having sex, and they aren't, couples, the sex frequency goes down as they get older, the longer the relationship. Ironically, if a man gets a divorce, his testosterone shoots up. Okay, that's another irony. And it makes all sense when you understand that men's testosterone levels go up when they feel, I have to do it myself. And then they're motivated. And okay, now I don't have a wife to fulfill my needs that I have for a woman. I have to go out and get one. So then his testosterone goes up. And this is, again, proven in studies. I know some people like to hear studies. So studies show out of millions of men that at every age, and these are averages, they're not your destiny, but the averages for every man at 35 versus a man at 36, it goes down 1%. Every year going down 1% for men. So in every category, they're like, let's just take 35-year-old men or 45-year-old men. In that category of 45-year-old men, some men have the highest for that category of 1% lower, and other men have the lowest. So who would have the lowest and who would have the highest? Well, according to the theory I'm putting out here, is that the man with the lowest testosterone is going to be the man who has the higher estrogen levels. You see the balance, he's tipped, see the tip. And so it proves out, which is the single men who have no love in their life basically have the highest testosterone. Now, the committed men in relationships, in a committed relationship, they have the next high. So there's a drop in testosterone. And then the next is the married man. His goes down a further. And then it's the grandfather. Okay, and then he's dead. So it's all, and low testosterone is the #1 cause of death, which people, for men, people don't say that, because if you say that, then you think taking testosterone is going to be the solution. Taking testosterone doesn't solve the problem. It's a man whose lifestyle, attitude, and relationships raise his testosterone. He has to be making the testosterone, then he's healthy. Now we can back that up with the other research, which just shows when a man is stressed, if he has when he's stressed, puts wear and tear on the body. It causes sickness and disease. It inhibits digestion, it inhibits detoxification. It clearly inhibits the immune system. All of your major functions go down when you are in chronic cortisol. Women today, their lifespan is shortening. That's been shown now. They used to live a lot longer than men. Now they don't. And that's, if you look in the year 2000, they measured women's cortisol levels, and they found in the workplace, they were twice as high as men's. And that was to prove that the workplace is not a friendly place for women. The feminists did that study, and that's true. The mistake is thinking that the workplace was designed against women. No, the workplace is designed for men, but primarily the workplace is designed to produce testosterone. For example, if I work harder, I will make more than others. That makes testosterone. That's competition. That's why communism has never worked. It always creates poverty, always creates war, creates violence. It's a terrible thing. And socialism. Okay, the more socialism you have, free handouts from the government, what happens is men are weakened. Men have to feel that they did it themselves. This is why you'll see, again, anecdotal on a certain level is that the males who have money given to them, wealthy fathers, often are very weak and not motivated. And one book written back in the 50s, they show that they become playboys. Playboys. They can't make a commitment. They can't be in a monogamous relationship. They just want to keep having fun. Back to that question of having affairs and all that. Well, your question asked all these questions, what's happening?
Yes, absolutely. No, I'm listening, fascinated, writing down more questions, following your thought though.
So the whole idea of prolactin, what it does, prolactin dampens dopamine, okay, which is very healthy. Dopamine, high dopamine, when things stimulate high dopamine, let's say cocaine, then you become addicted to it. So if you have a high, and this is what happened to all the kids with their phones today, they're all addicted to this. I read some study that said couples look at their phone while they're having sex.
I so can believe that, because I guess the dopamine kick might be better than the one from the sex they're having.
This will produce more dopamine than a woman ever for a man.
There you go. There you go.
Unless it's a new woman. See, no intimacy. Intimacy is safety and security. Dopamine is danger or newness. Okay, so but when this prolactin gets produced, when you love your partner, it lowers dopamine. So you don't get free testosterone either, okay? You're free from wandering, from the wanderlust, okay? You feel content and happy here, but the passion goes away. So how do you keep the passion after the dopamine goes down? And that will happen anyway, just because routine sets in. Once familiarity sets in, comfort sets in, safety sets in, dopamine levels will go down. But if you're in a marriage where you love your partner, you've got prolactin as well, which is going to keep your dopamine down. And what do you do? Well, we have an answer for that. I have an answer for all these things if people understood our biology of how different we really are. And now this new research showing that's one of the most important functions in the brain, there's just no overlap. No woman has the cognitive process that I have, and no man has the cognitive process that you have as a woman. This is very, very important. Let's wake up, folks. Okay, so anyway, coming back to, and that's a recent study at Stanford, which was talked about in Psychology Today in a recent issue. Okay, so here's the solution. Now, sex therapists can move us in that direction, but to me, it's a little superficial, but it's still helpful. And that is, when you're no longer feeling passion with your partner, go out and do something different. Okay, just do something new and different. Because if I go somewhere new and different, that's called vacation, that's called date. Do something new and different. That will stimulate dopamine. And also, if a woman feels safe, it will stimulate estrogen in her. And then that attraction will be there. Because see, the high testosterone in a man, and my testosterone is maybe at least 20 times higher than my wife's. And her estrogen's easy 20 times higher than mine. Okay, so this is the polarity. It's like magnets. There's a positive pole, there's a negative pole. And they like to be together. It's nice, it's friendly. But when you get close, there's a click. If you actually have a magnet, it would like hit it. So that's the spark, that's the two people, the spark happens. And that spark can only happen, particularly if you're somewhat healthy, because that spark can also happen for women if they're in danger. They're with a dangerous man, but the brain says if I have sex with him, he'll protect me. Okay. He's dangerous himself. So if I just say yes to him, I'm not in danger, then that actually produces both dopamine and safety, which raises your estrogen. That's why you can have these women just being so turned on to men are just not available, dysfunctional, everything, every signal. Your friends are saying, what are you doing with this guy? And she's like, I'm madly in love with him. No, this is your trauma of childhood acting out. So, and the problem with that, just to know, is that when you have that tendency, and most women do today, because they have absent fathers. At least in America, you've got 70% of children are growing up without a father in the home. How's a woman supposed to even have any idea how amazing men are and experience this bond that you can have with your father? That's 70% in the Black community, and 40 to 50% in parts of the country with white children. So a male can't grow into a man, a female can't trust a man. So now we have twice as many people, according to the population, who just don't want to get married. It just
Oh, good. I mean, the institution of marriage has not been proven. The failure rate is over 50%. So whoever gets into that kind of system, if you're a business person, you say, okay, I've got a 55% chance of failing. You wouldn't invest in that. Do you know what I mean? You approach.
Well, here's the funny part of it is 70 second marriage is 70% fail. Third, 90% fail.
So interesting. Actually, if I may interject there, it's so interesting because I was looking at the stats, John, and I was thinking that not only, more than 50% of marriages seem to really fail, but about 86% of divorcees get remarried in the first 5 years of that divorce, which again is everything is new, everything is fantastic, and it will be different. And I wonder whether this, when you look at the hormones you were just describing, is really so, or is just that the newness, the dopamine kick, and then the hope that now it's going to be the right one, and I've learned maybe something on the way with my failed relationship.
I really like how you said that I've learned something along the way. That's a woman's point of view. That's not a man's point of view.
What does the man say?
Well, first of all, let me just say that statistic I was listening mentioned divorcees. It didn't mention men versus women. Now, the research I've seen is men are married 3 years later, and if women get married, it's 9 years later.
Interesting.
So women are basically women are the gatekeepers. You can't let anybody in unless they earn your trust. So men are, our job is just to get in there, earn the trust. And of course, we never develop the ability to feel the power and the dignity of earning someone's trust if women just open the gates. So this is not only harming women, it harms men. And so we came back to that whole idea of men being able to provide for women. Dysfunctional relationships happen in the past when men worked hard or didn't work hard because they didn't get paid. You see, for a man to work hard, he needs to get paid. He has to have a hope, opportunity. You have to have the opposite of what's talked about now with this DEI thing, where everybody gets the same result regardless how much effort, energy, and intelligence you put into it. This is like nonsense. This is treating everybody like children, infantizing, weakening. I'll say another thing which is happening in Europe is that they're getting rid of the cows. They want to stop people from eating meat. I'm going to simplify it down, but meat is what builds muscles. There's nothing more powerful than eating meat for muscles, and nothing more powerful for testosterone than meat. And what they want is weak males who will not stand up for themselves. If I want to control you, I'm going to get rid of your testosterone. Weak males who do nothing, who have no confidence, who have no power, have no motivation, but they acquiesce. Women by nature are going to be more friendly, more allowing until Mama Bear gets triggered, which is what's happening today when they see what's going on with these woke children. Mama Bears in America are standing up now. Okay, so having said that, we can see, and I want to just put this out there, muscles, testosterone gives you muscles. Milk gives you estrogen, okay? Milk, it gives you love, and that's my own personal experience with that one, because I've gone for long periods of time with no milk products at all. And it's great for my health and whatever, because milk can sometimes not be good for your health, but too much. But what I find is if I fast, I become very, very spiritual, very, very unlimited, very highly conscious. but I don't have the feeling of love. Okay, that delicious feeling of love. And as soon as I drink milk products, that comes back.
That's
So I
okay.
look at, let's get rid of milk, which they're going to do by getting rid of the cows, and they give you soy milk. It's not going to be milk, from animal. So you got the love part of it, and you've got the meat part of it. And the other part of it, which will eventually happen, is the fish part of it. They just keep polluting the fish until it's mercury toxic and so forth. And fish is for intelligence. Okay, so
Omega-3.
every communist thing is kill the smart people. They do that first, and then they neutralize any sexual energy between men and women, because then you're dependent on the government, not on each other. You don't have your own autonomous life. And that's what family is. And your family takes care of you. You don't depend on the government to do that. A little bit, of course. I'm all for moderation and balance. So it's the same thing in our side of ourselves. We've gone way out of balance. So when we analyze just one simple thing, dysfunctional relationships in the past, men could not provide for his family, did not provide for his family. Women did it themselves and, of course, felt resentment. What's happening now? Men cannot provide for their family.
Same thing.
It's twice as hard. So many of the younger generation now with the housing market and everything, practically impossible for younger people to afford a house, because as women went into the market making money, the home income doubled. And if home income doubles, you have massive inflation, which means that people will pay more for houses because they have more. People always pay whatever they've got. People do that. So it's ruined everything. Now, is there a solution to this? Gradually, economically, there'll be a solution. But right now, we have to bring the family back together to solve this problem. And the problem is solved when women on their male side learn how to come back to their female side so they're not stressed. As I mentioned, women's stress levels are twice as high in the workplace when they're feeling independent, having to make money on their own, twice as high. And when they come home, whether they're married or not, their stress levels double. Because the environment of making testosterone is not bad for women unless they don't have the balance with their personal relationship. That produces the estrogen, produces the progesterone. Those are the key hormones that are changing all the time for a woman. If she has too much testosterone, her progesterone will go down. If she has too much testosterone, her estrogen will go down. So what we want to do is, testosterone is very important for women, and particularly the highly conscious woman. Okay, once you can access your male side, you're going to feel frustrated if you can't. And so women do make a lot of testosterone. The problem for them is when they make too much testosterone, they use up their progesterone. Literally, testosterone is made out of progesterone in a woman. So if she's making testosterone, she doesn't have progesterone. And I might have that wrong. I just have to listen to myself say that. But when a woman is making a lot of testosterone, she doesn't have access to as much progesterone.
And if that is not basically, if her female hormones are not being stimulated by a home environment where she can come back to her female side, this is where the imbalance starts.
That's exactly it. Now, how does a woman come back to her female side? Relationship. And that's it. The highest way a woman can connect with her female side is sex with a man. Sex with a man, not with a woman, with a man. Women have sex with each other, that they can stimulate the clitoris and they become more masculine. You can see this over time. When the clitoris actually makes testosterone, vaginal intercourse raises estrogen to the highest level. So a little confusion about male-female hormone, male-female orgasms. Freud first identified it in the West. It's known in the East and other places, but that the clitoris provides climax. The vaginal canal with a man produces orgasm. And this is measurable by having super high levels of estrogen. That's what an orgasm is a woman's estrogens keep peaking. And that's called being orgasmic. A climax is a spasm that ends it. Just like for a man, when he ejaculates, it's a spasm that ends
it's
it.
acute rather than chronic, if you wanted to put it that way.
It just, it should just be, like you eat a good meal, it's time to stop. Okay, that's all. That's the way it should be with sex, as opposed to intensifying. See, our whole every book on sex that not every book, but the majority of the modern books on sex is how you can use toys, and you can also use strategies to intensify your pleasure. It's all pleasure oriented. It's just like, if you look at our food in the grocery store, it's all sugar oriented. All we want is that hit of dopamine, hit dopamine. And then when you have a big hit of dopamine, and this is very simple, if you eat a lot of dessert before a meal, the food is not tasty. Okay, vegetables are bland if you become addicted to high dopamine. Marriage can free us from the addiction to high dopamine, and being free of the addiction to dopamine doesn't mean that you don't experience the fulfillment of dopamine. Dopamine makes you feel alive. It's just if you get these high levels of dopamine, then normal levels are flat. They're boring. It's nothing. So I was talking with a parent the other day, some of these kids are all ADD. They're hyperstimulated all the time. He was worried for his son. I was assuring him, your son is an angel because he reads books all the time. He doesn't watch videos and doesn't play video games. But if he's at a friend's house and he starts playing a video game, boom, he'll go. It's like giving somebody cocaine. You will get addicted. But the remedy for that is if you do have high stimulation, then you have periods of low stimulation, which are boring. But you have to go through that boring in order for the receptor sites in the brain to open back up, where normal things, which were boring, are no longer boring, but exciting. Absolutely. So anyway, the point of this is that when dopamine goes away, that will happen in any relationship because the newness will go away. And the advice is we'll go on a vacation and go do something new and different. And then it turns into, let's bring in new and different partners. First, it goes into toys and all these other things. Then it goes into not one hole, but two holes. You got, well, what new thing can we do that's sexual? Now let's bring somebody in, or let's watch this. And, it's all about trying to stimulate that spark and increase pleasure. Now, let's look at enlightened sexuality. Enlightened sexuality is not addicted to sex because you're in a committed relationship. The interest in just having sex is not there. But the interest is when you get close and he is more masculine and she is more feminine, that will create the spark, even if it's the same partner. And that's what we've neutralized. We become neutered. We become decoupled, depolarized in our relationships today. When women go to their male side, they don't have the feminine side to turn a man on. And when a man is too far on his female side, he doesn't have the male side to turn her on. They don't see it in the beginning because in the beginning, the newness is covering it up. The newness will always stimulate high testosterone in men, high estrogen in women. So they'll have that polarity. We don't want to be dependent upon the newness of a relationship to feel the polarity. We want to feel that the polarity will stimulate the attraction without it being a new and different partner. So that's how you stay together with your partner for a lifetime. And if I go out and if sex is boring and most people just go, we have to go do something new and different. Some romantic trips are good, but then it goes on for that. You don't want to be dependent on just that because it hasn't worked. Okay. It works a little. So the key to it is finding the polarity within ourselves. And so if the solution is women finding the balance within themselves, men finding the balance within themselves. And what that looks like when a man is more masculine and feminine, he becomes the guy that fell in love with her. Women always say, he changed. Well, why did he change? It's because his testosterone dropped, his estrogen went up, he has more love. See, the interesting thing is I love my partner, but that will suppress testosterone unless I really have a relationship that bumps my testosterone. And that means a man feels that he is making a significant difference in her life. And it used to be, if I just made money, it was a significant difference in her life. Now it's not. That becomes neutralized if you're both making money. And it becomes devastating when she's making more money. I'm not saying women shouldn't make more money. I'm just saying that unless you have these conscious skills, because the more money you make as a woman, the more independent you're going to feel. And if you're just feeling independent, there's a certain freedom to that. That's wonderful, but it's not intimacy and it's not estrogen producing. It's a connection. So she has to realize, I need more emotional support than most women because I'm so independent. I'm not depending on you for financial support. What do I depend on you for is a new kind of emotional support, which is reassurance. Because when a woman's too far on her male side, if she's in therapy, and some women would know this without going to therapy. Not everybody needs therapy to know the truth, but many women who are on their male sides don't know the truth of what's going on their female side, are coaching. what she would get down to is whenever she's upset with her partner or not feeling attracted to her partner, she's not feeling loved. And why does not feeling love make you upset? Because you're insecure without love. Women on their female side need reassurance that they're loved. Every man needs primarily reassurance that he can make a difference. Okay, so this is two things. I can do it myself, and she can go, I have someone to do it with. Okay, so that insecurity, to be able to identify it, and now I'm not an insecure woman, I'm independent. Well, when you got married or you're dating, what are you thinking every time? Does he like me? Am I beautiful? Is he attracted to me? Is he going to commit to me? Is he happy to be with me? Those are the feelings you have in the beginning. If you want him to have the feelings he had in the beginning, you have to have those feelings now. And the more independent you are, you need to connect with that part of you even more. And so you have to thaw out, and therapy or coaching can help you to thaw out. My books help you do processes. If you're in a relationship, it's much easier because you can just go to your partner and say, honey, there's a lot you can say, but I have so much love for you. And sometimes I feel neglected, and I know you're doing everything you can. And I really appreciate that. But I guess I just need reassurance that I'm still number one in your life and that you love me so much. And I know you love me intellectually, but in my heart, I have this need to hear it. And so I'd like to do a little exercise with you every day. And it only takes 2 minutes, maybe 3 at the most. Would you be willing to do that for me? And you don't have to remember to do it because I'm going to initiate it, but I just need it 2-3 minutes. Would you do that for me? And he'll say, every man will say, of course, I'll do that for you, 2 to 3 minutes. What are you talking about? Make you feel better, make you happier. And the exercise looks like this. It's called the Reassurance exercise. I have so many. They're biohacks, how to hack his hormones and hack her hormones to come back into balance. That's really what all romantic skills are. That's what a relationship is. It is a biohack to bring our hormones back into balance. So this is my favorite one, where she'll say to me, do you love me? Now, without this knowing it's a process, every man will say, of course I love you. Why do you think I do this and this and this? That's a bad answer. Okay, it's a bad answer. And even there was a study a long time ago that showed that anytime you use the phrase, of course, it raises somebody's stress level because it's saying, why are you asking a stupid question? What's wrong with you? See, so don't say, of course, don't say other thing. All I want you to say is, I'm going to say, do you love me? You're going to say, yes, I love you. And then I'm going to say, how much do you love me? And then you're going to say, with all my heart. And you can say other things too, but that's a go-to. That's fine if you repeat the same thing, with all my heart. And then you're going to say, are you happy you're with me? Yes, I'm happy I'm with you. Do you still think I'm beautiful? You are so beautiful. And now what happens when men say these things, they begin to feel those things more. Now, women can't understand that but for men, we walk around with more muscle mass, with different ways of processing things, with a need for testosterone and not such a great need for estrogen. In order to feel something, your estrogen levels have to be high. Okay, so it's to feel your emotions, to feel the love, to feel the caring. All this romantic feeling happens when your estrogen goes higher. So when a man is solving a problem, his estrogen's not going higher. See, we're designed to very quickly disconnect from our emotions and our feelings because we go into battle. We go into dangerous situations. We go into uncomfortable situations. The history of a male biology is doing difficult, dangerous, and dirty jobs. It's just
3Ds.
what we did. Yeah,
Yeah.
3Ds. And we were happy to do it as long as we came home. My wife had sex with me. That was it. And now, why was sex so important? Because women feel the need for sex, if they're somewhat healthy, when they feel appreciative, when they feel loved, when they feel cared for, when they feel understood, when they feel they're a priority, then they feel the need for sex with him. Otherwise, they don't feel the need for it. That's why women, we talked about before, don't get married again. Okay, they can feel love in so many other places. They're not going to feel the ecstasy of making love with a man, but they can feel love, and that's secure. So they feel more independent. Again, I can get the love I need. I don't have to depend on a man. So they're kind of lost there. And a lot of women don't get remarried for that reason, is that they have to come back and, trust again. And part of trusting for women, because if you're going to depend on someone, remember, you're the gatekeeper. So you have to make sure this is okay. If you're a woman, you get a divorce and you don't have a clear understanding of how you contributed to the problems, then you'll never trust again. See, a man doesn't have to know how he contributed to the problem. He just has to, he'll just think I picked the wrong one. I can pick a better one. So,
And he moves on to the next one. But a woman is a little bit more
oh,
complicated.
yes, she has to build the trust. And you can't trust again unless you realize I made a mistake and what my mistakes were. And if your mistake is I fell in love with a man because they're all creeps, then you're never going to be with a man again. That's why this terrible generalization about toxic masculinity that goes around. I would counter that by saying there's no such thing as toxic masculinity, as there's no such thing as toxic femininity. There's just toxic people. There's no
Toxic
question
people.
that there's toxic
Absolutely.
people.
And I love that biohack. So if we have a woman that is slightly more on her male side, more testosterone, she comes home, she feels stressed, needs to build up the other side of her female hormones, go through that exercise. That's one thing if there's a relationship, John. What does a woman do that is actually single? A high-powered executive is always required to be more testosterone driven, more on her male side. Cortisol up high in the sky. She comes home and the home is just that, a beautiful home, maybe a pussycat, and that's it. And there is no male that from the outside can now start nurturing, looking after her hormonally, and as a woman to A, balance out, and hence then B, be a woman and feel like a woman, and then keep sane going to the job the next day. What is a biohack there for a single woman?
Well, in Beyond Mars and Venus, there's so many because, you know, we have a limited amount of time. I want to tell a brief story and then a few biohacks. I teach all around the world, and one of the places I teach is in the Middle East. And one of the Middle Eastern countries where I teach, if you go to get a divorce, the judge says, okay, have you read this book, Men Are From Mars? And go read it, and you can come back in 3 months. We'll see if we'll consider the divorce. Okay, so
Really? Is that
yeah.
You made
So,
inroads since we spoke last?
that's quite amazing. And
It's
that's what I found
amazing.
out when I'm there. I don't know that every judge does that. It was a judge who came up to me saying that that's what they do.
Amazing.
Now,
Congrats. That's
the
great.
next is that they love me so much there that they have their government building, and white people from the West are never allowed in. I'm the only one that's ever been in. They love me. And so what they do, what they've heard from me, and they understand that women actually in the workplace, they've discovered, are highly confident. Okay, see, women are workers. Men work hard, but then they rest hard. Okay, and also if men don't have to earn their money, they become very lazy. And so some of these countries, males get a lot of money for free. So they're just going to get fat and old. And why do I say fat? Because estrogen, when you go to your estrogen side, you get fat. That's also estrogen puts fat on your belly. And, you know, we know now that one of the biggest risk factors for early death for men is a big belly. Okay. And that big belly is producing estrogen all the time. And the estrogen then produces more big belly. It's this cycle that's not good for men.
Vicious cycle. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but anyway, so their solution, as my Mars Venus coaches are very popular there, because they know that what these women can do is they need to be able to express how they feel. One of the biggest biohacks for estrogen is talking about how you feel without the intention of changing someone. Okay, so if a woman comes home and talks about her feelings to her husband with the intent that and that's what we call a complaint, by the way. If she's complaining to him using negative feelings, a negative emotional, coming in a place of dissatisfaction is a negative emotion. Okay, so I'm dissatisfied. This is what I want, but I'm dissatisfied. This is what I want. That's called complaining. That's sharing feelings, unhappy feelings, with the intent to change this man. If you do that, you just become addicted to negative feelings. So this is very important, but this is the idea of what therapy was, the opportunity for women. In a modern world, it came about because as women became more on their male side, some wise women said, I'm going to go talk to a therapist because my husband's not going to listen. And your husband's not going to listen if you're complaining about him. Don't think that a man wants to listen to you complain, okay? It's just not going to happen. Do you want a man to complain about you? No, nobody wants to have somebody complain or try to change you. It just doesn't work, and it kills relationships. So, but women do need this to share how they feel. And sharing how you feel to a therapist, because you're not trying to change the therapist, is no longer a complaint.
Yeah, it's neutral.
It's just sharing. So it's a very clear distinction. You know, women say, "Oh, I need to talk about how I feel to my husband. No, you don't. You need to talk how you feel to your therapist, to your coach, raise your estrogen, then go to your partner. And if there's something you need him to change, because we want to let our partner, you're stepping on my foot, I need you to stop doing that. Okay. So you have to be able to communicate that, but not as a complaint. You do it from a place of a request. And a request, the best request is, I'm a happy woman, I'm fine, and I'd be happier if you do this. It would just make me really happy, or my preference is this. I really don't like that. But she is different from, ow, terrible, you've hurt me, I don't feel loved. This is drama. And women will be, not all women, but women will become more and more reactive in a negative way. Some women are expressive of it, other women hold it inside. I know one couple, one of my clients, at least this was the case, where she felt she was the virtuous wife because she never complained. She never said anything wrong, and she doesn't enjoy sex. I said, the most powerful way, we have a love bank, basically. If I feel so loved, it's like I've got $1 million in the bank, and somebody rips me off of $1,000, it means nothing. You want to fill your love bank, and then all the little imperfections are just little imperfections. Well, all these biohacks, me being a good listener, making it safe for my wife to talk, her also going into therapy, talking about her feelings. If she has resentment towards her wife, she has to understand men better. So much resentment is women giving more than the partner. They say, oh, I give more, he does. No, you don't. You think you give more, but he doesn't care whether you make him dinner or not. He'll take you out to dinner. It's just.
Is it the right giving is the question. Is
it's
this
the
what
right
he
giving.
needs?
And the ultimate giving to a man, I mean, we like anything, do nice things for him, but the ultimate giving to a man is giving him the opportunity to succeed in giving to you. It's a complicated sentence, so I'll say it again, giving a man the opportunity to succeed in giving to you, which
Be
might
your hero, to be your hero.
gonna be your hero. Now, if your expectations are beyond what he can provide, he's always going to be a failure, and therefore he's going to go down. And are your expectations realistic? And is this the guy you married? I mean, you can't be in a fantasy world. My husband has to be Bill Gates in order to make me happy. I need to have my private airplane in order to fly places and be happy. Give me a break. His wife wasn't happy with that. She left
No,
him.
exactly.
No,
It
this
was
is the
not.
problem. But
But a
anyway,
woman that is single, John, a woman that is single, what does she need to do? She is her
okay, I'm
own
going to give you a few
provider.
hacks. Anything that can produce estrogen or progesterone. If she's still cycling, it's different after she cycles. It's mainly estrogen. But if she's still in her cycling years, up towards the ovulation period, she's had her period, and now she's moving towards ovulation. She needs to focus more on balancing her life with activities that stimulate estrogen. Then she needs to continue some of those activities, but now more activities that are more things that will make progesterone. In simple terms, behaviors and relationships that stimulate estrogen are where you're depending on someone for help. So that would be going to a therapist, that would be going to your doctor, that would be taking classes, that any kind of class where you have an authority figure, somebody who knows more than you that can bring some important need that you have. Okay, so there's that. Then there's progesterone, which needs to be higher than estrogen after ovulation. And progesterone is do what you like. Okay, so whenever you're doing what you like, and see, you got to do mental hacks with this as well. Let's say, oh, I have to pick up the kids now. I'd rather stay home, but I have to go do it. Then ask yourself, well, why do I have to do it? Because my children need my help. And why do I want to help my children? Because I love my children, I like my children, and this is a choice I've made. So you have to come back to, I'm doing this because I like to do it.
So it's a mindset question there, which then supports also.
It's just, you get into this addiction of, I have to do this, I have to do this, and I have to do this. So, and usually a good counselor will help you when you see the thing about women, when you get them to talk for a while, their mind can process things. They have to process out loud. And when men process out loud, they tend to become too feminine. So don't process out loud, men. Process inside. Don't talk so much about your feelings and your emotions. Now, doesn't mean you never can. Whenever I'm having positive feelings, express those. Okay, that's what this whole reassurance process is. Allows me to be masculine, give something to my partner, and at the same time feel what I'm saying, and then those feelings last throughout the day. It's very powerful for a man. But coming back to the single woman, big long list of things that will produce estrogen and progesterone and what time of the month. But there are things like dancing, singing, being in a group of people of like mind, anything that has to do with, like, the worst thing you can do is go demonstrate and say hateful things. See, if you go demonstrate and have a party,
Be
that's
aggressive.
okay. But if you're being aggressive about something, your
Mm.
estrogen's just going down. You're becoming a man, and you don't even, and you think that your unhappiness is about that policy out there. Like, why is a woman in America upset about what's happening in Ukraine, other than it's stupid for us to be there, in my opinion? Peace could have been achieved a long time ago with peace negotiations, which are interrupted by our government. They want a war. We have a military industrial complex. Everybody knows that. We make our money off of weapons. Everybody buys our weapons. It's just, this is not like secret information, conspiracy thoughts. This is obvious. Our own president said our greatest danger is the military industrial complex, coupled now by the pharmaceutical industry complex. These are like, how can you believe in this stuff anymore? I mean, we're in a tough place because we all believe lies. And I think one of the basic lies that we all believe, if you go to the fundamental lie, is that we're not good enough as children. We have to be better. We're constantly getting the message of disappointment or frustration or anger from our parents, just saying to us what we interpret that to mean is there's something wrong with me. I have to be better, as opposed to I want to be better because I'm who I am and I'm loved and I'm supported.
It
So
is a motivation. It doesn't come from a lack or from a trauma. Yeah.
So then the bigger the lie in childhood, the more as adults we will continue to believe the big lies. So that's why you never bring up politics or you don't bring up religion, which both are filled with lies. I'm not against religion. I'm not against politics, but we all know there's huge corruption in both of them. And you just can't talk about it because the childlike part of us learned as children. The more you've been misled as children, the more you will believe misleading people. That's just the world we're in. And so a relationship can free you. You can find someone who loves you just the way you are. And if they're not loving you the way they are, it's their fault. It's not my fault. Okay. It's just, my wife, her only complaint about, she says, my big complaint about you is you're just too perfect. I can't complain. I said, yeah, that's why you have to complain about other things.
I wonder what it's like to be married to a psychologist, relationship, and sex specialist like yourself. I wonder. I think your wife has an awesome time.
She has an awesome time. There's no doubt about it. She says she's so lucky. But I'll tell you, but the flip side of that is it's terrible to be led to a psychiatrist and some psychologists because they analyze you all the time.
They analyze it the whole time. You're a bit of
I can analyze every dysfunction. Everybody's dysfunctional. I've been 50 years doing this. I go, well, what's behind that? What's behind that? And that's this, and that's this, and that's this. I analyze my wife in my mind, okay, and only in a positive way. Just like with a client, I would only have loving feel. I'm not going to be bad. They're paying me. I have positive feelings about them. Look at the
you got to say what they pay for.
yeah, but not say give them what they need, which is I'm not going to introduce ideas to them that they're not ready to hear. But my wife, she's my wife. I'm not here to change her. She's not my client. What I can provide for her is something I have learned as a therapist, which is don't try to change people. They can change themselves. Provide the safe setting and the insight necessary. But she'd never been with a man who just accepts her the way she is, understands where she's coming from, doesn't judge her. That I did not have that 40 years ago. Okay, that's a lifetime of doing this. Well, no woman can expect to get that from your husband. But what she can expect is to get what she asks for. So let's say you're feeling a little crazy that day. You can say, look, I'm just feeling upset. I need to talk for 10 minutes and I'll feel better. Just don't say anything and pretend if you have to pretend to be interested in what I'm saying. But if you're interested, it makes it feel better.
So clear directions.
Yeah. What she does, she doesn't just throw this on him, but practices, again, another hack is whenever a woman is stressed, you write out what you feel. Because your tendency will be to go to either to do it as a virtue signaling. A lot of women will just tell other people and they're not trying to change that person, but they want that person to feel sorry for them, to go into agreement with their feelings of being a victim. We don't want to go into agreement of being a victim. Yeah, if somebody cheats me, I was victimized, but I don't go into I'm a victim. I learned a lesson, okay? And that won't happen to me again. And that was necessary because I was naive and I had to learn my lessons. So you have to come back to this place of not being a victim. And you can do that if you're having negative emotions, write them out. That is the most powerful hack I know, really. I mean, it's just that women won't always do it. This reassurance exercise I gave you more women are willing to do that because it's so simple. But this needs a good coach or a therapist to really teach you how to do
It
this.
needs a bit of time.
It takes time to learn. Whenever anything's upsetting you, you can know I'm feeling frustrated, and behind that up first, and just acknowledging I feel frustrated and what happened that makes me feel frustrated. If it doesn't start to disappear, you're angry. So let yourself feel anger underneath. And if that doesn't just disappear, because nobody wants to be angry all the time, but if you still want to be angry, it means something else is in there. So I'm feeling my emotions for the intent of offering them up, okay, to let them go. You know, historically, in all spiritual places, you would make offerings to God. Okay, you give up something of value that you're attached to. And by doing that, you do bring in more life force energy. When we're attached to things, we're not letting ourselves flow. So you make a sacrifice, then more divine energy can flow into you, even though it's this unfortunate thing. Way back in the time, you find something precious and sacrifice it. It will give up attachment. And when you give up attachment to the past, you're open to receiving more in the future. So this has evolved into Christianity. Not that I'm promoting Christianity, although I happen to be a Christian, but it was like he came along and said, you don't have to sacrifice your cows anymore. You don't have to do that. What you can do is forgive. See, forgiveness is sacrificing your anger. I'm giving up my anger. And faith, I'm giving up my fear. Okay. So these are the sacrifices we have to make today. We're attached to, oh, I've got so many reasons to be angry. Oh, I have so many reasons to be as resentment. Resentment is such a key one that women use more often than men, but men can use it. I resent the fact that, it's like, this is undisputed. I'm angry because this, and I should be angry. Why should you be angry? It's a good question to ask. And there is a good answer for it. When you're feeling angry, you're in the primitive part of your brain that feels threatened. And so you have to analyze, what are the things outside that are making me feel angry? And now with the greater consciousness, remember the higher consciousness, I can look at, now, why am I responding? Why can't I just let go of that anger? Because anger does tell you something. It says something's amiss. Sadness does recognize that I don't have what I used to have. And I really love that. Sadness brings you back to love. Anger brings you back to passion. Fear brings caution into your life so you don't do stupid things. But then you should be able to let it go and have your wisdom. And if you're completely centered in your higher consciousness, you'll never have those emotions because you already have the intelligent response to things. But we're not that high.
No,
okay?
and we all need emotions, I think, at some point. I think sometimes people are
No.
so
You
dramatic because of it.
If things are going well, you don't have to have negative emotions, okay? But what negative emotions do is, as we're sort of moving through life, we're not fully connected, co-creating with the divine energy. So when we're off direction, we get pain. The soul gives you pain. You're thinking, you're reacting a way that doesn't bring your best benefit. So the pain gives the intelligence to analyze that pain and let it go. So for women to be able to express anger or frustration, disappointment and sadness, fear and concern, or concern and fear, and regret and sorrow or shame. See, these are embarrassment. These are in all my books, I make that list of these primary emotions that just start with whatever one that you feel most connected to at that moment. And that's the one that's holding you back from feeling what you're really feeling. For example, if a man's angry, he's afraid. He doesn't know it. How can you get angry if you're the CEO and you got all the money in the world? And so I can just fire you. There's no problem. No, it's the fear that I'm losing my image. I'm losing my power. Somebody's going to say bad things about me. I'll have less. You can't get angry unless there's also fear. You can't be afraid if you're not also angry. And this is what women who've been suppressed when it comes to anger, because if you get angry with a man, he gets angry back, and bad things don't.
No, they didn't get out. I mean, that's it. When you see somebody really getting angry, you say he's losing it or she's losing it. And that's exactly what you are saying. He feels he's losing something that is, making him afraid. So he's getting angry.
And to go a little deeper, just the analysis there, fear, when you're feeling anxious, when I have clients who are feeling anxious, I'm always getting them in touch with what's wrong about what circumstances, and then letting them feel the anger that they could be feeling if they felt safe to feel it. And a lot of people just don't feel safe to feel it. It's just buried in there. And one of the ways to get to that is, what are you afraid would happen? Oh, let's look at imagine that what you're afraid of does happen. And if it happens, who you're angry at then. Then you can actually feel the anger. Sometimes people just won't let themselves feel the anger. That's the way to feel it. Or you can say, imagine the worst happening, and then say, now, how did that feel? I feel I feel depressed. I feel unhappy. I feel inadequate. Now, when in time in the past where you felt depressed or inadequate, or somebody made you feel inadequate, now go back and make that person wrong. Give yourself permission now to feel the anger you could have felt at that time if it was safe to feel your feelings. But for women, that anger is not okay unless, and this is the part, unless she has all these factual, she's gathering evidence all the time that I have a right to be angry. And so, yes, you can be angry, but don't throw your anger on others. This is for you to get back in touch with what you're really wanting, how you're responsible for it, how they're responsible for it, how you can solve the problem. But start with the feelings, just writing them out. Your brain, particularly the way women process, is bring it out so I can see it. For men, don't bring it out. And this was actually what Freud talked about, which is, why do you think you feel that way? What else? Why do you think that happened? What did that person say? Why do you think it's bothering you? Why are they making it a big deal? When you analyze things, you're making testosterone. Testosterone lowers stress in men. When you're sharing and somebody's hearing, you're in relationship, safe relationship, empathy, understanding, caring, your estrogen goes up. So it's just biology that's affecting us. And if we just understand that, there's no great virtue in expressing how you feel, except if you're feeling something positive towards someone, you're going to give them the reassurance. If I give a talk and somebody claps for me, express your feelings of love and appreciation. So that's what we need to be expressing more. But for women, the way they process information is out loud, the negativity. And it's not negative as long as they're not trying to change something with it. If you use it to get what you want, you're just bringing yourself down.
And yeah, and if I just pick up on what you said, it's just biology. You just put it like this, and I think it is just biology. But I think what we have not learned is really how to handle that, because we can influence it, as you were saying. We can influence
the biohacks, right.
These are the biohacks. And that's why your books are fundamental. Yeah.
And I know we could have gone over time, but I just want to mention here, which is what I analyzed is, again, romance. Everything romantic is designed to raise estrogen in women. And if a man can raise estrogen in a woman, his testosterone rises. See, it's a win-win. If she's doing what men traditionally did, she buys me dinner, she opens the car door, she drives me to the restaurant, she takes care of me. I will like that. Men typically are lazy, and that if they don't have to do something, they don't have to do it, but it doesn't build testosterone.
And it doesn't build respect either, or the admiration for the woman, I don't think.
No. She's just giving up. She's being the man. She's denying her femininity, that I deserve that. And yes, you're the gatekeeper. You're the one we have to please and support in order to get what we need, which is your love. So enlightened sexuality, I want to cover that one, is not using sex just merely to increase pleasure or intensify pleasure, but it is to feel more love. So a man can feel more love and then express that love, which then allows a woman to feel more love, which then allows him to go higher and higher in his testosterone. So it's a making of love. It's a situation where a man is literally serving her needs, not her serving his needs. Okay, it's very, very important. So there's a chemistry of going back and forth. But the point is when you're in the experience of feeling this wonderful pleasure, you're feeling more. This is particularly for men, but also for women. You're feeling more. So while you can feel more, it's like you have this ability that's waking up to feel more. Feel the love in your heart and express it, as opposed to feel more pleasure. See, pleasure is just pure dopamine. Okay, we don't need more dopamine. What we need is more love. So you feel, so as you're feeling pleasure, you feel, oh, I love this and I love her. And that's different from eating ice cream. I love ice cream, but that's not making love. That's just a sensual act, burning off energy. But so while I'm enjoying the pleasure, I'm using that. And the whole point of it is it feels good, but it awakens my ability to feel the love in my heart, which feels even better if I express it to my partner and she's able to receive it. So this reassurance exercise is part of enlightened sexuality, which is for her to continue doing that throughout the lovemaking process. Lots of talking. See, for women, when they finally get down there, you want to bring it back up. You want to be connected everywhere. And it's like, so many books do get it right when they say a woman's sex organ is right between the two ears. Okay. It's the words. Okay. It's the words. And the men are so quiet. And, you know, he doesn't even think the power of this. And women don't know that they can ask for that and get that so easily. First, you practice outside. But anyway, the analysis of the romance is of these behaviors, which we know are romantic behaviors. They're behaviors that raise estrogen. And they are a man doing something for a woman that she could do for herself that now she doesn't have to do. So that's a romantic gesture, opening the car door. Now, in a survival world, it was a man doing for women what she couldn't do for herself. Remember, that's survival. We're no longer in the survival world. We're in a place where women can survive on their own. What is it that's romance? Is a man doing for her something she could do for her, or providing for her something she could do for herself, and she doesn't have to. And that's taking her to a restaurant. That's why somebody else is going to cook for her, taking her to a hotel room where somebody's cleaned the room, cleans up afterwards, doesn't have to, it's all nice and neat. You know, there's no interruptions from children. So you've got, you're providing for her something. Well, she could go get a hotel room herself. She could, you know, be that, but no, you're providing that for her and giving her permission to enjoy that, you know, without feeling like I should do all this stuff myself. So take the principle and now turn it into another biohack, which is every day I ask, we've already established this, and in the beginning, couples can do it like this, where she puts her hand up, which means I'm going to make a request for you to do something for me that I could easily do for myself. And it's all within 5 minutes. You don't have to do more than 5 minutes, a time limit to it. And you start out by asking your boyfriend, your husband, whatever, the 5-minute request. It's going to be less than 5 minutes. Could even be 1 minute. Okay. But it could be, make me a cup of tea, find the remote control. Where are my glasses? Where's my phone? Call my phone. These are all things she could do for herself rather than going into this male mode of doing things for yourself. You're going to go, oh, now my job is to get him to do that for me. And that resets. And it's a reset. It's very powerful. It could be a foot massage. It can be cleaning up the sink. It could be putting in the light bulb. It could be clearing the box somewhere. And normally a woman, like, she doesn't want to do it herself, but he's really busy. She doesn't want to bother him. So she doesn't want to bother him. So I'll do it myself. I can do it myself. That's the word you want to keep watching as single women or married women. I'll do it myself. When can you get somebody to do it for you? Clip your nails, you know, get your hair done, you know, go shopping, have somebody lead you around, having you try on things and compliment you. You know, you need to be in a relationship where other people are doing things for you. That's a big estrogen stimulator. But the big ones are depending on someone for greater knowledge or greater support or personal growth, or now you can depend on someone for money. You go to a job, you depend on for money. Doesn't matter. That is, you have to perform to get it. Okay, so that's where you're not going to produce a lot of estrogen in the work world. So the work world is not against women, it's pro-testosterone, and it will always be pro-testosterone, and you'll always need to bring that balance into your life until the world changes to where you actually feel very safe, relaxed in your job, and you feel a lot of support. And we are slowly moving in that direction. You know,
yeah, I think the corporate culture is changing, hopefully changing a little bit, at least is what we are trying to do. And
actually, I think it's getting worse, to be quite honest, with HR.
Really?
HR is just this anti anything. It's too politically correct. It's too controlling. There's too much danger. It's not safety. And, you know, if you push against men, they're going to push back. You know, it's got to be more respectful and appreciative. So I've just seen the whole diversity absurdity that they're going to now.
And we have to dig into that one deep. I think that is very, very important, because I think there's a lot of confusion about, you know, how do you need to move these days? What is a woman? What is a man? Am I, you know, because you don't really know. And then what is the it? We have now the it as well. And how do you really
the pronouns, which is complete nonsense. Complete nonsense, in my opinion.
Right. And also another question we had, but so I have to have you back in the summer, John, was also about narcissists, because is the narcissist, is that the male side, or in a male, is that also the male side in a female narcissist? And narcissism is just such a big issue, it seems. And I had a lot of questions.
I would love to do a whole hour on narcissism.
Yes, we'll do that.
Completely wrong. And I'll help to correct that. And I give a little teaser. If you think your partner's a narcissist, they're actually the best person you can control to get what you want. Okay.
Best teaser ever. Let's leave it at that.
Women think they're narcissists. Once you learn my skills, they're the easiest men to draw out the best of them. If women can learn that. Okay. And that's all I'll teach. They're the easiest. Okay.
We'll do that lesson together. John, thank you so much for your time. I've learned so much and for answering these questions. I love it. Thank you so much. I'll see you very soon on narcissism for sure.
Sure. Okay.
Thank you. Bye-bye. And thank you, my dear On the Pulse community. I so enjoy having Dr. John Gray on the show. Third time round, we'll have him back for you. You have so many questions. I deliver. He certainly over delivers every time he joins us. I see you soon. And till then, stay curious. Bye.
Together, we go out there. Together, we begin to share. Together, we find our way. Together.